Glam girls, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, where we talk about all things glam and all things girly. I'm a beauty enthusiast that loves to talk about everything dealing with beauty and makeup, and today I'm so excited to be doing a foundation review and foundation from one of my favorite brands, Miss Char Girl. So she has come out with the new Beautiful Skin Medium Coverage Liquid Foundation with hyaluronic acid. It is actually on the way. I ordered it before it officially launched, but it's not gonna be here till Monday, and I gotta get this video up because I, probably along like yourself, am quite interested in how this foundation will work and how it will look. So I went to my local Nordstrom, got a sample, thanks Gabe, and that's what we're gonna be doing. But I wanna compare the new foundation to her tried and true Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. And I know both formulas are quite different, but I figured this might be helpful for you because one of her foundations is going to be more full coverage, a little thicker. The other one is more medium coverage, a little lighter. So if you're in between the two, or you're just not sure if I need both, I'm hoping this video will help answer all of those questions for you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I truly do appreciate it, and let's get right into this video. So like I said, we've got a new foundation from Miss Char Girl. It's going to come in a total of 30 shades. It retails for $44, and we get a standard 1 fluid ounce or 30 milliliters of product. Now, what I found interesting with this particular shade range, all of the shades are going to be neutral, warm, or cool, which is standard, but looking at the tones and just looking at just the foundation scale or the foundation color scale, these shades are going to be leaning, or they look like they lean more neutral to cool tone, whereas her Airbrush Flawless Foundation, I felt a lot of those tones leaned more warm, and a lot of them took on more of an orangey hue, especially when we got into the medium tan deeper shades. So I did find that quite interesting. I did pick up shade 10N. I have two foundations, or I have two shades in the Airbrush Flawless Foundation. So this is 10W, and this works better in the summer because it does pull much more orange against my complexion. I was able to get a sample, a deluxe sample of the shade 10N, and that is a much better shade match for me. So that is the shade that I am wearing today. I have the Airbrush Flawless Finish Foundation on this side of the face, and then I have the new foundation, it's my little sample here, in the shade 10N as well. So if you are similar to my complexion, I did go into store and swatch shade 9N, and that was definitely too cool. It looked a little ashy against my complexion, so 10N is the best shade for us in this new foundation. Now, some highlights. This foundation, the new foundation, is claiming to be long wearing, has hyaluronic acid, medium coverage, a natural finish. It's best for dry, combo, and normal skin, and this is cruelty free. The packaging is also different from her older foundation. This has a glass bottle. This new packaging has a squeezy tube, which I actually like squeezy tubes as long as they come with the pump. And this one, I believe, does come with the pump. So it's a 16-hour natural glow foundation with buildable medium coverage to hydrate, smooth, blur pores, and brighten the skin. In addition to hyaluronic acid being in the formulation, we have a rose complex that's going to reduce visible signs of fatigue for brighter, smoother looking skin. And then we have Bix Active, which is going to visibly reduce shine and blur the look of pores. So I'm very interested in this reduction of shine and blurring of the pores portion of this foundation. Now just quickly highlighting the Airbrush Flawless Foundation. This one comes in 44 shades. It retails for $44. We get the standard 1 fluid ounce of product. And like I said, when you look at this shade range, it definitely is pulling more warm. Some of the tones, like I said, do have more of an orangey hue to it because they are pulling more warm versus cool and neutral. So if you did not find a shade with this particular foundation because you felt like they were all too warm, this newer formulation might be a good match for you. This particular foundation is stating that it is long-lasting, weightless, hybrid skincare foundation, and it's going to be a secret to flawless, poreless looking, confident complexion. This one is going to have a full coverage, and the finish is going to be matte, and this one is said to work for normal, dry, and combination skin. Now let's get into the application. So starting with the Airbrush Flawless Foundation, I did go in and I applied it with my BK Beauty 101 brush. I used the mini size or the travel size brush. And this foundation has always been quite thick in my opinion. Typically when I use this foundation, I do like to use the Hollywood Flawless filter underneath it, or I'll go in with some other type of illuminating primer, because in my opinion, it does definitely pull matte, which is what it says that it's going to do. And for me, it's a little too matte for my liking. Just to give you some context as to what is on my face prior to, I didn't go in with a traditional primer. I just went in with the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream, and that was it. So because both of these foundations are set to blur the pores and do all of that, and most of the time I'm going to either be using an illuminating primer or a pore filling primer. So that's why I didn't go in with an additional primer. So pressed it into the skin. I really like this color and this tone of the shade 10N. I think it's a good balance between this shade, which is technically 10 Warm. It blends in really nicely, and I really do feel like this foundation does give an overall flawless finish. Anytime I see this foundation on models or anyone else, and then also against my own complexion, I'm like, man, this is beautiful. My only issue with it was I just felt like it was just a little too matte, and sometimes I don't want this much coverage. You know, if you know me, you know I tend to like good solid medium, and I really enjoy my lighter coverage foundations. So for me, this was never an everyday foundation for me. I just would reach for it for special occasions or when I wanted more of like a flawless look. But in my opinion, I definitely feel like pores are nice and concealed. I'm like looking in my mirror. Pores definitely look smoother with this foundation. So I do feel like that pore filling effect definitely is true. And in terms of hydration, I'm going to say for my skin type, which is mostly normal, I'm pretty normal all over, this was not the most hydrating for me. Like I said, wearing it in and of its own, like today, I still would definitely want some more radiance, but I didn't, like I said, add anything else because I just wanted them to, I wanted you to see how these foundations were on my face just as is. With the new foundation, I went in with the Sonia G Jumbo Base Foundation Brush. This formula is not as thick as the Airbrush Flawless Foundation, but it is definitely not thin. I don't know, it's like, okay, think of the texture of glue, like if you go to touch glue and you get like a bit of string of residue. This foundation kind of felt like that. Like, here is what the texture of the new foundation looks like, and I'm hoping you all can see it. So I'm gonna dip my finger in and just, do you see that? Hopefully that showing it to you helps to make a little bit more sense. And then I'm gonna also show swatches of the foundation. So here is going to be the new foundation in the shade 10N. And then we have the Airbrush foundation. This is 10W and above it is 10N. So hopefully you can see the swatch is pretty good. And as you can see from the swatches and also from the demonstration, the newer foundation is definitely going to pull nice and radiant, nice and glowy. I would even dare to say it looks pretty dewy, you know, especially on the back of my hand and also across the face. Blended in really, really nicely. And when I first applied it, I think I applied a nice, like, kind of light layer. So I went in, added a little bit more foundation since it did say that this was a buildable medium coverage type of foundation. And I would definitely agree that you can build it up to a nice medium. This is not going to get you a nice medium full type of coverage. I don't think we can achieve that, but I definitely do think we can achieve a nice medium coverage with it. Overall finish, I think both sides, you know, just after applying both of them, both sides looked really nice. And I think it's also clear to see that the airbrush side definitely looks more matte, and then the radiant side looks more radiant. Taking the camera outside and giving you some natural lighting in terms of what the foundations look like on my face. I think both sides once again look really good. I'm also happy to see that the color match is the same for shades 10N. I don't think you see too much of a discrepancy between the actual tone of the foundation, so that's good. I hate it when brands come out with new foundations and the numbering is the same, but then the tones are not. So happy that for the most part, these tones are the same. Taking the foundations into my dark closet and doing a little bit of flash photography. We do not see any flashback on either side, and I think both sides look really nice under flash photography. And then lastly, wanting to bring you inside of my house and just like toning down the sunlight, but kind of giving you a little bit of like a natural look to the face. Once again, I think both sides look really, really good. So I put on concealer. I did powder with both the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish powder because I just was like, I'm doing a video on Charlotte Tilbury, I have to use it. And I'm not gonna lie, I did go ahead in and top it with Cashapp, and this is in the shade Comfy. I did pick up a new shade recently. Coming in closer, I do see that the matte side is concealing my pores. I think noticeably more than the dewy side over here, or the more radiant side here. However, I will say that I do think that my pores are concealed pretty nicely, especially for this being more of like a radiant type of foundation. Across the forehead, everything looks really nice. Over my acne bumps and things like that, I think both sides look nice. I've got some texture over here. And for the radiant side, I do feel like my acne, I'm not gonna say it's exaggerated, but I know with radiant foundations, you can kind of, you know, they might be a little more emphasized. But overall, I don't think they look horrible for this being more of like a radiant foundation. Coverage-wise, I think we're sitting at a nice medium on the radiant side, and then for the matte side, I think we're sitting at like a medium full because I didn't use too much. My smile line right here, I do see some creasing, and I've had this foundation on now for about an hour, so not too long. I do get some settling of foundation in this smile line, so we'll just watch it, see how it looks, you know, after the 8-hour mark, to see if we're gonna have any additional settling, or, you know, if it's gonna look like this. I think from a distance, I don't think the smile line is exaggerated too much, but I do see my smile line, so that's that. In terms of face powder, I did go in very lightly with the Gucci face powder. I wear the shade 07. I didn't want to add too much powder, especially on this side, because I didn't want to, you know, kind of skew the foundation too much. So when I wear this foundation again, I'm definitely going to powder this area more so that, you know, I can help this smile line kind of last a little longer, but I didn't put too much powder in that area. In terms of like covering redness and things like that, out of the gate, the Airbrush Flawless foundation is going to do that just kind of right off the back. And with the Radiance foundation, I did find I had to add a little bit more coverage to cover my redness. So I think for the Radiance side, if you wanted to use this foundation and you wanted to wear it quite lightly or build it up to medium, you definitely can do that. With the Airbrush Flawless foundation, this one, like I said, for me, it kind of comes right out of the gate, erring on the side of full coverage. So I know I can apply less, but typically the Airbrush Flawless foundation is going to give you full coverage right out of the gate. And I found it a little more difficult to try to wear this foundation in lighter coverage. I know you can definitely mix it with, you know, your moisturizer, things like that. But if you were just trying to go in with it by itself, just be prepared to know you're going to get more full coverage than less. I'm gonna have this foundation on for about 8 hours, and then I will check in with you at the end of the day. We'll do a nice little comparison, and then I will share with you my final thoughts and who I think each foundation is best suited for. So stay tuned. So guys, we are back. It is the end of the day. I have had both of these foundations on for officially 8 hours, like 8 hours to the T, because it's kind of late and your girl is tired. So let's come on in. Remember, we have the Airbrush Flawless Finish foundation on this side. This is the more matte coverage foundation, and then we have the new Radiance, I forgot what the official name is, so sorry that I keep probably saying the wrong name, but we have the newer foundation on this side. The first thing that I noticed when I looked at my face was the dew that we have, but kind of ironically, like the same amount of like dew on both sides of my nose, which I think is quite interesting. And I normally don't really get too dewy around my nose. My oils tend to not break through too much. I have noticed though that my oils will break through, number one, if the foundation is more radiant, or if the foundation is so matte that my oils begin to be overactive because they feel inhibited by the matte coverage. So, or the matte finish, I should say. So I'm not alarmed by it. I don't think there's anything negative about the dew that I see on both sides. I just was like, interesting. I do feel like we have a little bit more radiance on this side, or a little bit more dew on this side compared to this side, but it's about the same. So I did wear my mask today, so I do see that a lot of the foundation has come off of my nose. The way I know that is because I can see more of my freckles compared to the freckles on my cheeks. I have worn away some of the foundation on my chin as well, probably from the mask, because I wore my mask and I was doing a lot of talking. And then I tend to, when I hold Riley, I tend to rest my chin on her head. So I'm not surprised that it has worn off a little bit on my chin, just to kind of put that out there. I think both sides held up pretty well. I'm not surprised about the Airbrush Flawless Finish because I know that this foundation is long wearing. It holds up very well. I would highly recommend this foundation for those moments where you want full coverage, full glam, a nice complementary matte that is going to allow you to look flawless throughout the entire day or evening. And I do think that this foundation does provide that. So like I said in the beginning, I really do enjoy this foundation, and for me, I'll just zhuzh it up a little bit so it's not looking as matte all day. But I think at the end of the day, this side does look still quite smooth, and in my opinion, still quite flawless. Coming in a little bit closer, I do still feel that my pores are more concealed on the matte side compared to the more radiant side, but I'm not like shocked by it because with more radiant or dewy foundations, even the ones that claim to be pore blurring, you're still going to see your pores just because of the radiance. However, I will say, I still feel, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section, I still feel that my pores are still blurred though. Like they do look smoothed over. We don't see the foundation settling in my pores. We also don't see my pores more pronounced in terms of like them looking larger on this side compared to this side. So I would agree that this foundation does have a nice like blurring effect. Of course, this side is going to be more blurred than this side is, but like I said, I really do think that is due to the formulation of the foundations and not because the radiant foundation is just not as good as the matte one. I feel like, I remember the radiant foundation said that it's going to be a lightweight, long wearing formula, and I would agree to that as well. And as a matter of fact, both of these foundations are, because I was upstairs in the bed like working and like getting settled in, and I was like, oh wait, I gotta finish up my video, which means I do not feel these foundations on my face, which is a really great thing. So I do think both of them are quite long wearing. I think both of them are lightweight in their formulation, even though the Airbrush Flawless Finish foundation is a thicker formula. I think when applied to the face, and especially after wearing it throughout the day, it does not feel heavy or cakey or anything like that. It doesn't look cakey either. So I really enjoy both of these. I definitely can't wait to use the newer formula more often because I'm quite comfortable with this one. I know how it works. So I do think this newer formula is going to be more of like an everyday foundation, especially because the coverage is lighter. It's not as like full glam. So I feel like, with this foundation, if I just wanted to put on like foundation, maybe blush, put a little brow pomade through my brows and a lip gloss, like it would look kind of funny with the Airbrush Flawless Finish one, because this one is just coming out the gate with more full coverage. Versus the more radiant one, like I feel like my makeup today is more minimal. I don't have lashes. I have like very, you know, minimal eyeshadow. My brows are done. I have on mascara, and that's pretty much it. I don't have on highlighter. I didn't want to put highlighter on because I didn't want the highlighter to misconstrue the results. I didn't use any of my finishing powders that have, you know, radiance to it or anything like that. So whatever we see on my face is just coming from the foundations and the radiance within them. So I feel like the radiance one or the radiant one, I feel like the radiant one is more of like that everyday kind of, you know, light to medium coverage foundation that can be flexible to be worn on more simple days, to simple glam, to a nice, you know, comfortable beat. You know, I want to go out with the girlfriends, I'm going out with my husband or my man or my woman on a date. Like I'm going out with my girlfriends, I'm going out with my partner. It's a special event and I want something beautiful and radiant. I think this foundation really covers all the bases. And then, like I said, for me, if you are not the person who wears full coverage every day, then the Airbrush Flawless foundation is going to be for more of those special occasions. But if you do like to wear full coverage foundations every day or more often than just a special occasion type of occasion, this is a really comfortable one, and I think this is a really, like it says, a really flawless type of foundation. And like I said, depending on your skin type, I would say if you have drier skin, just by default, I do think the newer formula is going to be a more comfortable one for you to wear because it is going to have more of that radiance. It has hyaluronic acid in the formulation, which is going to be that component that's in our skin that's going to retain moisture, keep it looking hydrated and plump. Not saying that you can't wear this particular foundation, the Airbrush Flawless foundation, but because it does have a matte finish and it is matte right out of the gate, this just may not be the most comfortable for you. On the reverse, if you have more oily skin, you might really enjoy the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Finish Foundation, Airbrush Flawless Finish Foundation. And in terms of the newer formula, I think for, you know, 8 hours of wear and the radiance that we see around my nose, for someone having normal skin, I think this side looks really beautiful. And I feel like if you have oily skin, this may not be your cup of tea, especially if you just prefer just smooth and matte. If that is you, then I would probably say you can go ahead and skip this one. And if you have not tried this one and you're interested in it, give it a try. That might be more your cup of tea. If you are anywhere between combo oily, normal, I think honestly you could go either way. And based on your preferences, like for me, when I go to use this one, I like to add a little illuminator underneath, and I'm really good with it because I do like the overall finish and I do like the long wear of it. So I hope that this video was helpful. If I did not answer any questions that you do have, please leave them down in the comment section below. Which side do you think looks better on me? Are we looking and thinking Airbrush Flawless Finish, or are we thinking the newer foundation? And which foundation are you interested in? Are you interested in the older formula? Are you interested in the newer one? Do you want both of them if you don't have them? Because you know I don't discriminate either. Leave all of that in the comment section below. And if you've made it to this point in the video and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing and joining the Glam Girl Squad because we'd love to have you. And guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye, guys.